Welcome back to Everyday Man of God Ministries. It's nice to have you back here once again. As usual, I'd like to start off by saying thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you taking your time to listen to what I have to say, because most of what I have to say is based on the Bible. Yes, some is my opinion of the world and what's going on around it, and I tell you that. But I never give you my opinion on the Bible. And people will say, well, don't you, by telling us what you think the Bible says? Well, I like reading the scriptures and pointing out what's obvious, because most people don't. So I ask you to read the King James Bible along with me so you see the exact same thing that I'm saying. Therefore, you're not relying on me always to tell you the truth. I just do my best to bring you the scriptures that prove the truth, and you may fact check me later. But tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about government. But what I want to talk about is stop blaming the government for all your problems. Blame yourself. Blame your selfishness, your vanity, your greed. That is why you are in these positions. Not just Democrats, but Republicans as well. Excuse me, I take a sip of water. You have to understand that we find or feel the need to blame everyone else for the problems of the world, instead of looking at ourselves and the decisions that we have made to lead up to this. Why are we so embedded with the idea that government is going to save us from anything at all? At what point in time throughout history has government completely helped us? Even in these times when people felt Trump bailed them out of things and then Biden put us back in. Understand, at the end of the day, one way or the other, they're all in the same boat. They are all sleeping in the same bed. They are all part of the same demonic organization. I know that's going to bring ire to some folks who will call me I don't know what they want to call me, a traitor. I don't know what you want to call me for turning my back on a man I never 100% supported, although I did vote for the man, and that was Donald Trump, and I felt God told me to vote for him, but I didn't understand why. And then the second time, I felt God told me not to vote for him. Not because I thought Biden was any better, and at all. In fact, I knew he was worse. But there was something bigger. Things bothered me. Things were happening. But it was all part of God's plan. It wasn't that I was fooled. It was more so God wanted me to be part of some sort of plan to vote for a man who will ultimately have led us to destruction. How did he not? Here we are. And he's not the only one to blame. But see, both sides and people, men and doctrines have preyed upon our desire to have something. See, we run our lives on flesh, and we do not run, and I don't mean like human flesh, eat flesh, cannibalism. That's just stupid. But we run a lot in this world on selfishness. Look around you, the vanity, me, 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 me. What do I want? You look at these vaccines, these forced mandated vaccines, and just vaccines in general. People will get them and they will tell you, well, some will think it's actually doing well. It's not. But some will actually tell you that I wanted to go to a movie. I want to be with my friends. I want to travel on a plane. I want. I know of one person that I had spoken to, not a Christian, just someone that I came across in talking. I talked to a lot of people. But he had gotten this shot so he could go to concerts. And I asked him, did he know that, there might be side effects? He didn't care. He knew it was probably not healthy, but he wasn't concerned about it. He just wanted to go to concerts. Wow. You are willing to sacrifice your body to go to a concert? That's just amazing to me. You're willing to sacrifice yourself to get on a plane. All of these things. But we have been led to believe in science, so falsely called. We have been led to believe in government because, throughout time, God and government, God and government, God and government. They beat you over the head with that, don't they? Over and over again. And I remember years ago, I was talking to my father, and he had said to me that we're supposed to obey the government, which I always thought was really, really strange, because on the one hand, you will tell me to support the government, or the government is ordained by God, and God instituted government. He created all things. There's a mixture there. You've taken two different things and you combine them into one, and I have to say you're wrong. Because God did create all things, no doubt about it. And God created governments. He did. But not the government of which the secular world or the modern world believes in or looks at. How can you, and then when I had said to him, well, then if that's the truth, then why are we not following Democrats? Why are you a Republican? Why are you a conservative? Well, because the Democrats are wrong. But, they can't be wrong. Because you just said God put government there. He's in charge of it. So then we should be. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. And for years that had bothered me. And I've spoken about it before, and I've asked him, where in the Bible does it say? And he said it's in the Bible. That's always a response. It's there. It's in the Bible. It's in the New Testament that, we are to follow God. And follow government. We're to give government what government wants. We just follow them, and God will protect us in all things. Yeah, and I believe in part of that. God will protect us in all things, but it never really sat well with me for many years. And it's been obvious. When I look throughout the Bible, I see governments that fall. They're always fighting against the government, so I really didn't buy into it. And then lately, I've been doing a little more deeper study. Maybe I could go deeper than I have already done so. But we're going to go to Romans. And I want to read you what I think and what I feel is where it is completely twisted. And you have to understand that that's by the Vatican, the early churches. I would have to say the Nicolaitans are part of that whole beginning part with the early fathers and what's his name? Hippolytus. I can't even remember his name. But I think it's a satanic thing that they've twisted this completely, because I don't believe at all. Because people worship the government. But see, the fake Christians, they manipulate the Bible to create the lie. And it's pushed on everyone in society to get total submission to government of any kind. You have to obey government because God says so. Even though that it's opposite. Completely antithesis of Romans 13. So I'm going to read Romans 13, verse 1 from the King James Bible. And I'm going to read through verse 6, and I'm going to stop there. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Now please listen to what I'm saying, because you're going to see a change in the new perversions put out the Vatican Church, which is the NIV and the rest. Verse 2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. For he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenge to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers. Pay attention to that line also. Attending continually upon this very thing. Now let's pause, and we're going to look at the NIV, which I have in front of me. This is the 2002 NIV. I always mark the Bibles of which one I'm reading from. This is the New International Version, which is a sin. Now let's read verse 1 from the NIV. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities. Not higher powers. See what they did? They slid governing in there. For there is no authority except that which God has established. No, it's supposed to be for there is no power but of God. The authorities that exist have been established by God. No, the powers that be are ordained of God. See what they did? See how they completely twist this? Verse 2, consequently, he who rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. See, if you go against the government, what does it say in verse 2 again, the King James Bible? Whoso thereover resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Here it says, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. Oh no, if I resist the government that God put into place, I'll be judged, and that'll be a problem. See how they twist that? See how they lied to you? God and country, fight for your country, God, worship the government, see, pay your taxes. We're going to get to that. For rulers, now we're still in the NIV in verse 3, for rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and he will commend you. All right, verse 3, King James. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that with power, not the government. Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. Now we'll go back to the NIV. For he is God's servant to do you good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant, an agent of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Let's look at it again, King James. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. For he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Therefore it is necessary to submit to the authorities. See, right there. Submit to the authorities. Not only because of possible punishment, but also because of conscience. All right. Verse 5. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. Submit to the authorities. I don't see that in the king. Well, it's not there. It's not there. This is also why you pay taxes. Oh, now we slide taxes in there now. Oh, look at that, NIV, your Vatican Bible. This is also why you pay taxes, for the authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Verse 6 in the King James Bible. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Wait, I don't see government and 7. Give everyone what you owe him. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor. I went one verse further. Go to the King James Bible. 7. Render therefore to all their dues. Tribute to whom tribute is due. Custom to whom custom. Fear to whom fear. Honor to whom honor. I'm not seeing taxes at all. So that's the NIV version of that. Of the King James Bible, which is obviously the greatest Bible. Sorry. I guess my bias is quite clear. Let's talk about tribute. What is a tribute? I have the definition in front of me. An act, statement, or gift that is intended to show gratitude, respect, or admiration. What is a tax? A compulsory contribution to state revenue levied by the government on workers' income and business profits, or added to the cost of some goods, services, and transactions. Wow, that's a whole lot different than tribute that the King James Bible speaks of, isn't it? Look at the word compulsory. What does that mean? Required by law or a rule. Obligatory. I'm sorry. Now, do you think that God wants you to subject yourself to an evil government? Yeah. So do you see how Romans 13, those verses, and there are obviously more scriptures that are twisted, but do you see how that doesn't make any sense? Do you see how the world has twisted that? Pay your taxes to where taxes is due. Let's be honest about taxes. Just in this country alone, well, we all complain about taxes, but if you go back in time, and now I always forget which ones are which, and I got to write these down. I did this study a long time ago. Before I dedicated my life to the Bible completely 100% and discipleship. And when I was off the rails years ago, I was really into studying government and conspiracies and the lies and so forth and so on. And one of the things I discovered in this country were something about taxes. Now you have the excise tax. That's where it actually started for me. I was looking at excise tax a long time ago, and I'm like, where did excise tax come from? Where did income tax come from? Where did these taxes come from? Where are the origins? Well, now I forget which one it is, but it's either income tax or excise tax. Was first created to pay off the Revolutionary War. And then it was another tax was put in just to pay off the 1812 debt. And then it got snowballed into other things. See what happens there? I'm pretty sure the War of 1812 was paid for. We're good. We're all set on that one. But there are no taxes to give to any church or church building or pastors or priests and anything like that. There's a tribute. There are men like myself, and I don't even know if I have my Patreon or PayPal set up correctly for even this channel. And I have asked before, I think maybe a total of 3 times in all the time I've been doing this, if you wanted to donate, to go ahead and donate to this program to help us just with a little bit better microphones and stuff like that. But mainly so we can afford, or 99% mainly, to afford more gospel tracts and Bibles. Now, again, you haven't heard me ask for it much, and I very rarely will. And I'm only saying it in this particular broadcast, or this podcast, rather, to explain what I'm talking about. Now, you can give tribute to someone who you believe is doing a wonderful thing, whether it be this ministry's or another ministry, and you think that they're doing God's work and doing what is necessary, then you can pay tribute. You donate. You give a few dollars, $5, $10, $2, whatever it may be. It's not a tax. It's not an obligation. It's not obligatory. Unless you're a Roman Catholic and you believe in the Vatican and the Pope and all of those other systems of religion, not faith, religion, then go for it. But not here. We don't require that, and we do not ask that you feel to be required. So let's, as we use that lady there, and I use the term loosely, in the White House there, what's her name? Jen Psaki there. Let's circle back to the beginning of this. But government. It is not the government that has put you here. It is you who turned from God, relied on government, and put him in the position of authority that you are fooled to do so, to destroy your lives, your selfishness, your vanity. You are the reason that we are here in these destituted times. I don't even think destituted is a word. And if it is, great. If it's not, you may mock my grammar if you must. We are in terrible times. And it is not because of government solely. It is because of your selfishness. So thank you for tuning in and listening to this video. You all, some of you will watch it, but there'll be nothing to see except for a nice sunrise on the page there. Some of you will be watching this and listening on Rumble. Some of you will listen to Spotify or Breaker or Radio Public or I don't even know where else I am. I don't really know at all where these this will fall. So with that, thank you. God bless, and have a good time, and have a good night. And make sure you are always in the Word, being happy, praising the Lord, singing songs, right up to the day that we're caught away. Good night.